Am I still green now?
Oh, it just went away. What is going on, guys? Noah Brewer here, and today I'm going to be talking with Ricky Hayes. I was recommended to him from the owner of Ecom Hunt. He just said that he was a really cool guy, so I started investigating, looking through his YouTube, and it turns out he actually builds brands and he does it with Facebook ads, Google ads, stuff like that. But I don't know too much about him. I just reached out to him and I have some questions. Hopefully, he'll be able to give me some advice, and I thought it would be pretty cool if I could film the call that we have so that could also help you out. So I have some questions written down. If you don't know, I'm investigating more into branded dropshipping, just talking to people that are doing it, and I'm trying to learn more about it myself because if you don't know, so far I've mostly just been doing kind of these make money and run style dropshipping stores where we kind of scale them and then once they die out, they die out. But I'm interested in the branding aspect, so I thought it would be cool to bring in somebody who does it, interview him, and see if he can answer our questions, and hopefully it's valuable to all of you. So let's get right into it. All right, so we are here with Ricky now. You can see him on the screen here. Ricky was introduced to me, like I said, by Ariel from Ecom Hunt, and I checked out his YouTube a bit, and I was like, damn, this guy's pretty cool, and he's into branding and stuff. But everybody has a story to tell. So before we get into specifics, I'd like to hear your story, bro, honestly, because I don't know a whole lot about you or what you did before this. So, if you have a story to tell, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so like anyone, I'm 29 years old, so I've been doing now e-commerce for about 3.5 years. So I started when I was about 25, 26, about that. And I was like anyone, just working a full-time position here in Australia. I'm from Australia. And if I'm honest, I just was not satisfied in my job. I was in the IT section in a large bank. I just didn't find it enjoyable. I felt like a number anyway, and got introduced to e-commerce through a friend that I actually worked with. And I guess it just captivated me. For the first 3 months, I spent 3 months building what I defined as the perfect store to quickly learn that it meant nothing. That I built a store around stationery. I thought I could just easily sell someone a pencil, and no one cared. So it taught me a lot, learning how to build a Shopify store and everything like that. But basically, quickly realized that no, what's more important is the marketing side of things. So that's where sort of the starting, and then I started focusing a lot more on the marketing, which I know you very much talk about, and learning the psychology behind it. And I've always been interested, for me, as building long-term assets. Drop shipping is fantastic. I've always loved the idea of drop shipping, very low barrier entry, high profit margin once done properly. But the biggest problem I've seen with drop shipping is lifetime value, and building something that you can be very, very proud of, that's going to be around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So that's where I naturally just got more involved in the more branding side, which for me just defines as having inventory in a warehouse in that country, like the United States or Australia. And I just kept building it from there, because it's very interesting when people say building a brand store. Really, all that is the differentiator between the two is between the fulfillment method, really. Otherwise, it's all the exact same. So, in my opinion. But anyway, so that's sort of where I've gone, and as a result of taking that approach, the highest day I did was in 2018 was 87,000 in a day. So that's the 87,400 or whatever it was. So that's the highest I've done, and that was during Q4. And since then, been focusing a lot more on really, really emphasizing on that brand, that long term. So not scaling as high, but focusing very much on the customer journey. I hope that gives a bit of a backstory.
Yeah, for sure. You actually answered one of my questions, which was like, why do you focus more on branding other than did I just turn green?
No, no, you look fine to me.
You just
um, must be on your end. Am I still green now?
Oh, it just went away. So yeah, you did mention, why are you doing branding rather than just drop shipping? And I think, for me, I haven't investigated up to this point much because, I run an agency. I'm not actually building stores and doing it for myself. And that's why I'm able to have, longevity with drop shipping, is because it's just so diversified. Like I'm not relying on one or two stores. Like, we have 80 stores that we're managing. So it's just kind of like, we build them, they die out, and then we just kind of move on and test products again. It's been working great for me, but this is partly why I want to start investigating into brands and, talking to people like you, and why I want to share it with my audience is because if you are doing e-commerce yourself and you want to be sustainable, there's two ways you can go, right? You can either do brands, or you can just like stick with the normal like flip and dump drop shipping model. But like if you do that, you're basically always in a rat race of like testing new products, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, so it's so there's two reasons that I very strongly like the brand approach personally is like you said, the rat race. When you're in the drop shipping space, it's always who can find the product the first, scale it the highest, dump it, move on to the next. And that can work, but you have to have a very strong team. And I just don't like that approach, especially if you ask me, with the fact that Facebook and Google and all of them are locking down and things are changing, where I think that it's going to be harder with the drop shipping model that way as a long-term sustainable model. Whereas the branding method, it makes it much easier where I can, because in every niche, there's a lot of winners, anyone can sell a product. So I take the perspective of choosing a niche and focusing on one type of customer. Let's say the baby niche. I can focus on, in theory, mums. And so I build up my brand. I get to know my customer. I'm constantly improving. And it's a lot more rewarding for me. And I also, with the method you were saying about, making more stores and that, I personally find that very arduous. So I don't like that personally, that repetition. I like to do something, do it right, and then just improve upon it. Whereas opposed to basically starting fresh every time. So that's my reasoning for the branded model. And I find it works really well. Once you get a brand, as I said, and you build that loyalty with customers, finding more winning products for me actually becomes significantly easier. And the reason I find that is customers actually just tell you, hey, do you stock this? And you end up getting a lot of feedback, and your customers literally just tell you of another winning product. And there you go. You don't even have to do the research. Your customers tell you, and you just sell it, and they'll just buy it. So the downside with the branded side that I should always say to people, though, is the barrier of entry in terms of money required and time is a lot. So you need more money and you need more time, whereas drop shipping is less money generally and less time to get underway. So I guess it comes down to people's individual circumstances where they're at too.
And there's also a way to have or to get into building brands with less money, which it's one of my questions, and we'll get into that in a bit. But one question that popped up in my mind was, or not question, but the very first store that I grew was a shoe brand. We were not doing any special fulfillment, so it was basically just structured like a brand without the fulfillment. It was just drop shipping. But we had an email list and stuff, and we would send out emails to different shoes. Like we had our main shoe, and then we had a few others. So are you kind of doing that where like if you have a brand in the baby niche, are you also testing new products using your email list, and maybe you do it on a different store or do it on the same store?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I definitely use my email list. So the email list is, in my opinion, liquid gold. So that's one of the biggest benefits of building your brand is that an email, I should say to everyone, is worth liquid gold. Once you start mining it, it's just liquid gold. And so the way I actually approach it again is I ask for feedback from customers. So I use mainly two methods. One is email, and two, I actually use Instagram stories. And what I generally do is I just ask customers, we might get our team to find 4 to 8 products, and we simply send out an email and a story that says, here's 4 to 8 products, rank these from 1 to 8 on what you would like the most, or vote what you would like the most. And if you've got a loyal following, they'll happily tell you what they want.
Yep.
And I just use that to say, okay, here's our next big winner that we can market. And 90% of the time it ends up working very, very well. And funnily enough, a lot of people then respond to that and say, can I be put in a list for when you get this item so I can buy it straight away? So it works in both hands. So yeah, to answer your question, that's how I do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, we did that with shoes too, but instead of asking existing customers, we asked like friends. Like we had a
Oh yeah.
bunch of female shoes, and we made like a Google Doc, and we had people send us screenshots of their favorite ones, like literally just random people on Facebook. So that's a funny thing that you would say that you can actually use your existing customers for that, which is
They
great.
love doing it. From my experience, if you have a very loyal customer base, they'll happily give you that feedback. They want to. I actually find they feel more a part of your business, especially because people very much like to support small businesses. You know, small, I guess, like family. People want to feel a part of that. They're big of some movement, and so I actually find that people actually want to do that, and they actually. At times, we get a lot of people just say, "Hey, here's a product for you. We'd love you to look at stocking it. We think you'd rather custom." And customers have just done that for us and turned out to be another great product that I never would have found myself, as an example.
Yeah. I mean, we can, going back on what you were talking about with how, someday drop shipping is just not going to be possible. You were mentioning like, um, there's different levels to e-commerce, right? Like there's drop shipping is like the bottom level, like dog shit drop shipper. Like you're you're at the bottom level of what e-commerce actually is. And a very similar thing happened with drop shipping in like a different industry. Like now we work with Shopify a lot. But if you think about Amazon FBA and eBay drop shipping back when those two were a thing, it kind of had this timeline where when Amazon and eBay dropshipping were really popular, it was almost like dropshipping was like 3 to 4 years ago, where you could basically do it for any reason. People were literally just going on Amazon and just making like 20,000 listings a week. And, they wouldn't make a lot of sales per listing, but it was a volume game and they just went crazy and then fulfilled it from China. And then, now AliExpress came along, Shopify came along, Facebook ads started getting really good before I actually even started in e-commerce. So I kind of got in once Facebook was already good. But I am seeing now that Amazon is viewed more as, instead of just making a ton of listings, it's more about product research and building like a legitimate brand around that product. Like making 20,000 listings is no longer the best method for Amazon FBA, which by the way, I don't do Amazon FBA. I'm just like watching YouTube video headlines and just paying attention to the market. And I think drop shipping is following a similar timeline where the same exact thing happened with eBay drop shipping and Amazon FBA drop shipping. Eventually, it became smarter, not only from like a sustainability point of view, but also from like a getting results point of view, to actually build a brand and focus more on product research, build a fire brand, like have all your things in line. And if you don't do that on Amazon right now, you're not seeing the same success as the people that are. I
Mm.
think dropshipping is heading in that direction.
Yeah, well, if you ask me, the big thing that I'm seeing in drop shipping now is, as I said, like really the definition of a brand is, to me, three things: good quality customer service, good quality product, and good shipping times. The downside with drop shipping a lot of the times is, unfortunately, it doesn't meet all of those. um, but that's where, like, we're already seeing in the drop shipping space on Shopify, that there's a lot of alternatives, like big one being CJ drop shipping, Spocket, where allows you to find local suppliers to essentially drop ship, but from within that country. And it is a little bit more expensive, but as a result, you are still building that brand while drop shipping. So it's just evolving. So the barrier of entry has become a little bit higher, but not massively higher.
Yeah. And I think eventually it's going to get to a point where, doing what you're doing, where it's like full on fulfillment and, custom content and crazy customer service, good shipping times. That's all going to be required. Like you're no longer going to be able to drop ship someday. Facebook just
Oh,
allow it.
see, if I'm honest with you, I think I don't agree there, if I'm honest, not to be rude, but like I just think that drop shipping will always be around. It's just going to evolve. I agree with your sentiment with Facebook ads in terms of them being more strict. But I also see that Facebook will always support it because they want the money. They know the drop shipping community are willing to put those bucks forward. Now, it just means that people are going to have to adhere to more policies. And what we're also going to see, if you ask me, is that if that does hypothetically happen, people are just going to start moving to other platforms to market, which we're already seeing. So, example being Google, YouTube, Bing, Pinterest. Influencer marketing is massive now, and I think what it'll be is that drop shipping will always be around. I think just how people market will evolve a bit more as well, because drop shipping's been around from about
Are you
1997, I think,
Are
something
you
like that.
referring to drop shipping as in like the model of drop shipping, or drop shipping as in the way that we do it right now?
The model of drop shipping, but not the way we do it right now. Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about the way that, at least the way that I do things right now, is not going to be around for forever. Like I,
Ah, yeah.
like just
Do you mean
throwing,
pump and dump stores?
yeah, like just throwing a product on a product page, running ads to it, and ship from AliExpress.
Yeah.
Like I see the same thing with content, like just getting ads. Like back when I started doing Facebook ads, we would literally just straight up steal a video. Like we wouldn't modify the video in any way.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, like we used to, there would be somebody else's logo on our ad. And eventually you weren't able to do that anymore because of copyright. And now we're kind of just taking clips off the internet and editing them, which is cool. But I think soon you're not going to be able to do that either. And you're just going to have to full on do custom content. And the same thing is going to happen with just e-commerce as a whole. Like I think pretty soon with Facebook ads and stuff, you're going to have good shipping times. You're going to have good customer support, or else you're just not going to see success. It'll be just kind of the same thing as adding 20,000 listings on Amazon. It's not going to have the same effect as, having the best price, having a really good brand on the product. Which actually brings me to another point. Like, are you actually private labeling your products as well, or are you just doing normal products?
Yeah, so I do private label them, like where we can, like depending on the product now. But generally, yes, I white label them. So I very much focus on the unboxing is massive now, like it's just absolutely insane. So making sure they're well packaged. I like to put in thank you cards. So for me, thank you cards actually work very well, where you give them a discount and they come back and buy again. It costs like 1 cent. There you go. A lot of people come back and buy again. And I brand those boxes, even the actual satchels that we use as well, try and brand them as much as possible too. Unfortunately, it does add a bit more on top, but the idea is that people really like that very custom experience. So that's like, that's sort of, I guess, to me, a unique selling point that a lot of people don't do. Again, like the way I look at it is trying to be ahead of the curve, like what you're sort of saying as well.
Yeah, that helps with, LTV, because what most people are doing is they're just trying to get people to make the purchase, which having a custom box and all that might help with the purchase, like if you're showing the custom box and all that. But I mean, more what it does is once the customer gets it, they're like, wow, this is really nice. Like they have a good experience. And then, maybe you give them a discount, or maybe they see one of your retargeting ads and they want that experience again.
Yeah, exactly.
So going into what I mentioned earlier, I said that we were going to talk about later, which was, the barrier to entry, getting into branding, doing the private label, doing the fulfillment warehouse. Actually, before I get into that one, I want to talk about your warehouse, because you actually rent your own warehouse, right? Like you're not doing CJ drop shipping, you're not doing third-party warehousing, you have your own setup.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So my question is, most people are not going to be able to do that. So
it's not cheap.
yeah, so I mean, some people will, but for the people that aren't able to do that, like what was either your way to work up to that, or what is the second best option?
Yeah, so I look at everything as phased approaches. We're always having to adapt and evolve to the environment. That's what we've been speaking about anyway. So I will personally, this is the strategy that I do for most products in that, is I will buy a very small inventory of them. And I'll usually just test it on Facebook, because it gets us the best result or the fastest results to see, what traction we get from it. And I will actually drop ship them initially, maybe for like 2 to 4 to 5 orders. If I can see that traction very quickly, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to buy some inventory, like a large bulk order. And I usually just go on Alibaba, like most people, and I'll try and white label it, get it shipped across. And generally, in every country now, there's tons of warehouses. In US, we all know ShipBob. You can even use CJ drop shipping as an example. In UK, I can't remember what ones that the names of them in UK, but in Australia, there's There's a number of them too. I'm just terrible with names. Anyway, and what I'll do is essentially just try and send it to that warehouse, and the warehouse will fulfill it. And once I get to a point where I'm getting consistent orders, preferably for me like 50 to 100 a day minimum, and I can see that brand's I've been getting those orders for 2 to 3 months, that's when I'll physically look at my own warehouse. So it is quite an expense. You don't have to do that. I know a lot of people that just use a 3PL, third party logistics company, exclusively, and that works too. I just like having, I wanted to have my own warehouse. I wanted to experience it and have that level of control. So if I'm honest, I still use the drop shipping model, and I just phase it into that. But for most people, I would suggest probably just looking at a 3PL, like Shopify even have a 3PL for United States, for instance. So that's my general advice and how I've sort of structured it.
Okay, so now that you have your own warehouse, are you still using, maybe for the first 100 or the first 200 units, are you still using like a 3PL kind of thing, or do you just send it straight to your own?
Nah, send it straight to our own. The reason being is that, as I said, like one of the benefits of once you build a brand, you can nearly be 100% sure that you're going to get rid of that stock. That over time, you know how it is. You have a winner, and then you have a massive winner, then you have a mega winner,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have some that just gradually sell. And so the biggest benefit of a brand at that point is whatever stock you buy, you nearly always sell out. And if you can't sell it, you just do a big flash sale and people will just buy it. And at least then you can get rid of the stock. So nearly all the time, you either break even or at least make some profit on that stock. And this is also why, what ties into what we were discussing earlier, why I use the email list and Instagram stories to determine what products I get to reduce the risk there. Does that make sense?
So you talked about when you see like 2 to 5 sales come in, that's where you will make the initial order of what, like 50 units, 100 units?
Obviously depends on the unit at times, what Alibaba, like the supplier, but yeah, 50, 100 units. And you can just send it to a 3PL, usually costs barely anything because they'll just put it in there. You have an account. Obviously you have the warehousing fee and various other little fees that come with it. You have it in there and away you go. That's pretty much it.
That's interesting because we have a lot of products that will make honestly anywhere up to like 10 to 15 sales and just end up not scaling at all. Like they'll just kind of they'll do good for like the first 3-4 days and then just kind of die out. Which platforms are you primarily using to where it allows you to be so confident with only 5 sales?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. The reason that I can take that approach is, by the sounds of it, you're saying that you pretty much focus just on Facebook ads solely, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I very much have always incorporated that there's a lot of marketing platforms out there, and I personally love them, if you ask me. So, so the first thing I'll do is I'll run Google Ads. So I'm sure most of us already know, for instance, a brand search campaign, one of the most invaluable campaigns you'll ever make. Shopping campaigns, smart shopping campaigns, Bing ads, YouTube ads, display ad remarketing, and also I'll do, like, for instance, SMS. I'll make sure I set up my SMS abandoned cart, email abandoned cart. And I usually find that between all of those that I can very confidently get people get to 10 to 15 orders and just keep gradually scaling it. Because the biggest problem that basically what you're saying there is that you're so reliant on Facebook, whereas I found that by being less reliant on Facebook and using, because people convert up from the most insane ways, trust me. So the more you get into it is ridiculous. And so I always find that by focusing on using multiple marketing channels takes more time to set up, but it nearly guarantees that you can scale a product with confidence. And by, again, focusing on good quality customer service, good shipping, and a good product, you get a lot of customers come back. So that front end cost is very much buffered by customers coming back and buying. So that's my approach. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like 5 sales to me on Facebook is I wouldn't have any confidence in a winning product on Facebook.
Oh, wait, sorry. Did I say total or did I say a day? Did I say a day?
I mean, I'm thinking you said total.
I probably said total. Sorry, I meant like 2 to 5 a day
Okay,
consistently
gotcha.
over at least a 3 to 5 day window where I can see consistency.
Yeah, but I can see, if you're doing Google and especially Google, because I run Google ads for my personal brand, and I mean, their customer service is perfect. Usually, once something works, it's been pretty consistent. So, I could see so early on in the process, you have much more confidence that you're actually going to be able to maintain what you're doing. Like with Facebook ads, we can be like a week into a product and have 50 sales and everything going great. And then tomorrow it'll just disappear, ad account ban, maybe, I don't know. There's a million things that can happen. So I guess that's like another tough thing if you're strictly relying on Facebook.
And that's why I've been burnt, and it sounds like you have too, so many times from Facebook, from suspensions, bugs, you name it, whatever. And that I personally hate Facebook ads.
Yeah.
It's so unreliable and inconsistent, not just in terms of the sales, but every day you might just wake up, oh, your account's restricted, or all of this. And so I like to work on the approach of using Facebook as a marketing platform, but not my entire marketing platform. And I personally, the main reason I did that is so I can actually sleep well at night, if I'm
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, it's a million times smarter, especially if you're building brands for yourself and you want like some sort of sustainability to not rely on Facebook ads. Even as an agency myself, we run only Facebook ads because that's just what I've always done. It's kind of like a specialty thing. Like, I'd rather be really good at one thing than kind of good at other things, and that's just what we focus on. But even I'm looking into like Google ads and Bing ads and trying to learn more about those platforms because Facebook has gotten so unreliable. So, if you're doing it yourself, I mean, I could see Facebook being great for scaling, but not really for sustainability.
No, unfortunately, it's not. Trust me. If you, my recommendation to you would be use Facebook ads, and then if you run some smart shopping campaigns on Google, that'll very much help boost your overall revenue. They work incredibly well.
Yeah.
That's nearly the first thing I do.
Yeah, I mean, right now we just kind of manage the Facebook ads because that's what we're good at. And then obviously I encourage my clients to just, figure the other things out on their own, which I want to start integrating, Google ad training, maybe bring somebody in that actually knows what they're doing to help them, you
Yeah,
know, maybe even transition into a brand, which I think would be great. It would be beneficial to me because once we find a winner, usually we'll scale it for like 3 months and then it dies out and we lose that client. But if we're actually able to develop it into a brand and put multiple platforms on it, we would keep the client. They would probably do a lot better with more profits. So,
exactly. Yeah.
but I mean, talking about different platforms, you already mentioned the ones that you used. Which one would you say you've had the most success with, like in terms of scaling and why?
Sorry, did you say platform, like
Yeah,
marketing
so like we're
platform?
talking about Google, Facebook,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So, truthfully, it has been Facebook. Facebook has allowed me to scale the fastest, most aggressively, to the highest numbers. In terms of if we talk profitability, that's another question altogether. But in terms of scalability, Facebook always does hold that king title. It is incredibly good for that. Google can get there, but Google takes a lot more time and effort and dedication to get
Mhm.
there. Um, and YouTube, I should say as well, because I like doing my YouTube ads. Anyway, so you can definitely get there with them, but the Google and YouTube takes a lot more grit to get there over a longer period of time because unlike with Facebook where we just do interest targeting and or LLAs and Facebook does pretty much most of the work for us, with Google, it's all based around pretty much keywords in for the most part. And so, there's factors like do your keywords have enough search volume? Do they even have enough search volume to even try and get impressions to get those clicks? Is that search volume so expensive for you that you can't make it profitable? And there's a lot of mathematics and back end work more involved with Google and YouTube. But long term, like as I said, I actually I find that I can scale Google and YouTube a lot higher, more consistently than Facebook. But it just takes a lot longer to get there.
Yeah, I see that. And YouTube kind of has a similar scalability where it's not interest, but it's keywords, so it doesn't
Yeah.
rely on search volume.
Yeah.
Have you ever been have you been able to successfully get like a profitable cold campaign targeting keywords on YouTube?
Yeah, so I actually with my YouTube ads, I do the layered approach with YouTube ads. So I do keywords plus custom intent, especially like they work incredibly well. So I usually do at least two layers of a keyword plus an audience at minimum. And yes, I have, but I will admit, as I said, it has taken me at times like $500 to $1,000 before you, because with YouTube and that, it's all, and Google, it's about getting the data and then just interpreting the data and using it to your advantage. Because I look at it like a dartboard that, you know, you have it's the same with Facebook really, but you have a dartboard and you have a whole heap of keywords and audiences, and you throw a heap of these darts as the audiences and keywords, and most of them miss, but a few of them hit. Once you take out the ones that start missing, then you consistently hit. Because the good thing with Google and YouTube is once you find the ones that hit, the keywords never change. That's the cool thing. Like it's just their search volume changes. And so as a result, you can be very, very confident that you're going to consistently do well there until it becomes potentially very saturated, you know, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, yeah, I like that, especially YouTube because it has the scalability factor similar to Facebook, you know.
Yeah.
Unlike
Yep.
shopping, unlike search, where it's like reliant on how many people are searching. So I want some sort of actionable advice for people that are currently following, you know, my model where it's just like, you know, throw a product on a product page. They have a winner. They're doing 1 to 2K a day. They want to turn it into something sustainable, maybe get better shipping times. You mentioned going to some sort of 3PL company first, but you know, when would you make that transition and like how would you start making that transitioning? Like, where do you even start essentially?
Yeah, well, sort of. So when I would make the transition is one ASAP. Now, as to when that is again, if you have a product that's selling consistently over, to me, a 7-day window, and let's say at least from what will work on your basis as well, like 10 to 15 sales, if you can get to 10 to 15 sales a day consistently over a 7-day window, and you're not incredibly unprofitable, you know, you might be unprofitable, you know how it is,
Yeah.
and but you're getting consistency and your business is going like that, that would be when I would sit back. I would very strongly say, look, get a 3PL in that country or region. You know, let's say we'll work on United States. Again, a very popular one a lot of people use is ShipBob. There's tons of them. I can't even remember them. And as I said, Shopify have it too. And make that move, invest the money into whatever X amount of minimum stock that you can get from an Alibaba supplier, white label it where you can. As I said, white labeling really does work well. And most of the time it costs very little additionally, especially with a bulk order through Alibaba. And then obviously, depending on the order size and the weight and all of that, generally just I get it air freighted. You know, it's like a week to 2 weeks max, and get it into your 3PL and then scale. You know, get rid of that inventory and try and repeat that process. What I personally do as well, because obviously once you're running out of inventory, what's the decision? Do we stop selling or do we keep selling and put it on pre-order? I personally go with the approach of putting items on pre-order, and I just make sure that I very strongly advise customers of that. Because in my opinion, you just always want to keep selling. I'd rather get an order and potentially refund a customer who doesn't want to wait potentially for new stock to come in than not get the order at all, in my opinion. Because I like to take my market share. So that's how I sort of look at it.
Yeah, that's kind of the least sketchy way to do it, is to take pre-orders, but that could also affect conversions and
It
um,
does. It definitely does. But if you are honest with it, like I only do it as a last measure. If you know, I mean, look at what's happened with COVID. I mean, it's screwed everyone over to some
yeah,
extent in the e-commerce fulfillment space. And so, you know, do you take the decision of stop marketing now and let your business just dry and you have to wear that for now, or do you keep selling? And I personally find that your conversion rate drops for me around 20-30%. So if you can factor that in, it actually isn't that bad, honestly.
is
So I've found that it's been pretty successful for me.
yeah, it's probably also gonna vary like with the niche and the product and all that too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Another option is just as a backup, like if you order 50 units and you sell out before you're able to get more, You can always just resort back to drop shipping as well. Like as a
Yeah,
last resort, like if you needed to, that could be a better option than pre-orders.
yeah,
Depends on the
exactly.
situation, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of bulk buying, so to give an example, with my agency clients, we do a lot of higher ticket products.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass when it comes to bulk buying because 50 units could be a $3,000 order, which some people are not going to be able to pocket out of the beginning. So I'm just wondering, like, when you're product testing for yourself, or if you're starting a new brand, do you keep that in mind? Like, is there a certain criteria that you follow? Is there a certain type of product that you want to find when you're trying to do your product research? Like, guess what I'm trying to say? Is your product research any different now, like, since you know that you're going to have to do branding and custom warehousing and all that?
Yeah. So as I said, like my main product research method right now, as I said, with my current brands is basically just using my customers as my product research method. If I'm honest, it's
Right.
but let's work on the basis of that I don't have that to make
Yep.
it so more relatable. So I personally follow, if I'm honest, what the overarching community generally does. I'm not doing anything amazing, unique. If I'm honest, the one thing that I feel that's a bit more unique than most is I actually use Etsy as my main product research method.
Hmm.
So I find that Etsy is very, very unsaturated. If you think about Etsy, it's they're higher ticket items that these generally women are willing to pay. They're handcrafted, they're unique, and there's a lot of great ideas from that. I've seen a number of businesses myself that have just gotten their whole idea from Etsy and turned it into a Shopify store, and they've just done insane amounts. An example was because Etsy is very good for print on demand, as an example,
Mm.
that I saw someone get a number of very popular religious T-shirt print on demand designs, turn it into an Etsy store, a Shopify store, print on demand. Bam! Obviously to United States with all these religious. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not going to get into it. I don't know specifically, and they're just through the roof. And so that's my main method that I actually use because it's the exact customer I want. They're willing to pay more because Etsy has that more higher tier feel.
Yeah,
So
like,
I know the margins are good, and it's pretty unsaturated if you ask me from what I overall see. So that's sort of how I do it. But I still look for the whole. Does it have mass appeal? Again with the religion T-shirts, mass appeal. Okay, in the United States, huge mass appeal. Okay, is it something that's very emotional? Yes, obviously religion is very strongly tied to emotions. Does it have good profit margins? Yes, print on demand is very well known for higher ticket a lot of the time with good margins. And is it something that I can bundle? Yes, I can sell a heap of, I don't know, religion necklaces or other T-shirts. Will customers come back and buy from me again? Will I be able to have more products? Yes, because it's print on demand in this example, and it's a very passionate niche, evergreen niche too. Sorry, I forgot to say that. So evergreen as well, so that your business is sustainable. So that, if I'm honest, like that mindset, I don't really look at any different to the overarching community. I just look at where I look for the products is mainly where I go. That I would say would be a little bit of a differentiating factor, just from what I see. I could be wrong there.
yeah. Do you think that you shift more towards lower ticket products, like under $20, I would say, because of the wear?
No, well, I would, for me, I would sell a lower ticket as an upsell. Personally, I generally try and sell items that are at least $30, $35.
Mm.
And for me, just
Costing,
because
costing, or what you sell them for?
what I sell them for.
Okay.
Sorry. So a lot of my items are higher ticket too. So most of my average order value for my businesses are around, pardon me, about $60, $65 collectively. And that includes shipping. So obviously, because I charge shipping too. It's because shipping is incredibly expensive nowadays. Um, but yeah, so that's sort of where I sort of sit as a whole, because I look at least on the front end, I want to aim for a $15 to $20 margin. I mean, if we're looking at Facebook ads now, it's pretty expensive as a whole. And so I like to have a nice, comfortable $15, $20 margin at least that I can, if I'm selling a $10 item, the idea is that you can get a lot more sales, but I actually find that doesn't really work nowadays from my experience anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we mostly sell products for $60 to 200. So
Yep.
I can already see my clients right now picturing, ordering 100 units of $100 product. Like it
Yeah.
would be,
There's 10 grand.
yeah, it'd be difficult, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. Like if you are trying to get into a brand, you might want to maybe test out some lower costing products. Like you can even find products that you can buy for $5 that you can sell for 50. Not a whole lot of them, but they do exist. I've seen people do it plenty of times.
But that's where, like, what I always say to people is how you justify that is perception again. And that's why, like, personally, I recommend having a look at Etsy. And a perfect example of that is jewelry. Legitimately, you can buy jewelry for a couple of bucks and you can comfortably sell it for $40, $50 because of the perception that it brings. As that's what I always use as the pinnacle, because jewelry is ridiculous margins, honestly.
Yeah, and you can make up for it in packaging, especially if you're running influencers and you have some pretty big names wearing your jewelry. It's not going to be looked at as a beginner e-commerce brand. It's going to be looked at as something established. And if you're going for a luxury look, it'll feel luxury.
Exactly.
But I think we're good for now. I think you gave some really good tips, especially the actionable ones where people doing like 1 to 2K a day can go out and start looking at these 3PLs and see what it's going to take to make their business more sustainable. So I appreciate all the tips, and hopefully some people in the comments can maybe drop some input or give their opinions on what you're saying, and maybe some opinions on what some of the stuff that I said. But either way, I think it was a great chat, and thank you for coming on. I do want to say I will leave Ricky's Instagram and YouTube in the comment section. I mean, in the description, so you can go check out his YouTube. You have videos on Facebook ads, Google ads. Do you do videos on branding as well? I don't know if I saw them.
I have done a couple, but I'll be honest to people, I tend to monologue a bit, so you probably find it a bit boring at times. But no, I very much do try and discuss that. I can't remember the videos myself though, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm all monologue in my videos as well. So
very much alike, kindled spirits.
Yeah, it's all about what you're actually saying in the video rather than how you say it. But yeah, thanks for coming on, and hopefully you guys find value in this channel, and hopefully you can make your business more sustainable because of this.
Thanks for the opportunity of the chat as well. I found it very valuable, and I do hope you all find it valuable as well. So, I hope that everyone has a happy and safe 2021 too. So thanks for your time.